morning! How is it going? Is it going well? We've only got 4 more sleeps until it's Christmas. Today, I am going to make a start on a blockbuster video. This is going to be in 4 parts. So what we're going to make over the course of the next few videos is we are going to make a book. Bookbinding is something that I've been wanting to do for a jolly long time. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any tutorials. I kind of have got a vague grasp of what we need to do. We're gonna do it together. So this one's probably gonna be less of a tutorial and more of an exploration in bookmaking. I've decided to make a very specific kind of book called a garter book, I think. It's a medieval book. It's a way of making the cover so that it tucks into a belt, and it has like it's got like a long flappy bit of leather that comes off the cover that you fold into your belt. Enjoy. Join me on this adventure. So, let's collect our materials. What we're going to need for this first part is some paper. I've got this book that I am not particularly attached to. This is what I started all of my first year university work in, and that's the story. So I'm going to use this, put it to some good use, and actually turn it into something that I can be proud of. We're also going to need some scalpels, a scalpel, and a ruler, or if you really fancy like, you might have a guillotine. So other things that I believe we're going to need. This is a beveler for leather crafting. It's got like ridges in this side so that you can make the edges burnished. However, I'm going to use this end. So I think they've got like there's a special kind of tool that's like made of bone that you use to like score down the centre of the sheets so that you fold them and they're all in the same place. But my one's made of nylon and it's for leather. It's called improvisation. And a bloody big cutting mat. And lastly, I've got some little bits left for the end part. I've got 2 pieces of wood that I'm going to use as a vice, I guess. I've got some clamps to clamp them together, and a little saw. So first things first, what we need to do is we need to get that keyring out of the way, and I'm going to take the cover off of this book. What I'm going to do is, because of the way that this is, it's basically all the edges have been glued in. I'm just going to cut down the glue that's exposed here, and cut down the glue that's exposed here, and take the whole lot out. Now I'm going to hang on to this part, the cover, because I think that might come in handy later. So, 2 options here. Like I said, we could use a scalpel and a ruler to take this batch of glue off. Perfectly fine. But I happen to have this handy dandy thingy. So let's see if we can get through it. It's been a while since I've used my guillotine, so it might not go quite so well. Ugh, dusty. So here goes. I'm hoping, although I think, judging by where that is, it's not going to take enough off. Adjust it, and I'm going to wind this down to clamp the pages so they all stay in the same place. Let's give this a go. should be nice and aligned. Perfecto. Ta-da! So now that we've got all of our paper separated, it's all exactly the same size, I'm going to start folding it. We can do them all like this. I'm going to do a few at a time, and I'm going to use the ruler and this thing to score that centre fold. I'm just going to use the lines on my cutting mat to try and line this up a little bit. If I use the middle cutting line on the mat, I can just square it up again with the guillotine, each of the leaves. I've got 5 of these put together now. That makes 10 sheets or 10 leaves of paper. What we're going to do is I'm going to fold the rest of these off shot, and then we are going to trim this down again with guillotine. Here we go. We've made all of the stacks. I've done 7 because that's how much paper I had. That means that in this book there is going to be a grand total of 5, 10, 15, no, hang on, 140 pages. And this is the stack that we're going to do. Make it a little bit more interesting, I've gone and dug out some of my nicer paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut sheets of this out to go in between each of the little stacks. So I'm going to basically wrap this in the nicer paper with the flowers and stuff on. I'm going to interleave leaves, so they go flowers, interleave, aha, so funny, yeah, there we go, flowers, leaves, flowers, leaves, flowers, leaves, flowers, leaves, flowers. What I think's next is I think we should basically square up all the edges again with the guillotine, because this edge in particular is very rough, where the basically, if you can see, the middle parts are further that way than the outside parts, right? Makes sense, because that one's curving around the inside. So the inside ones stick out this end much more, which means that the current edge is sort of zigzaggy. So what I'm going to suggest we do is we lop off all of those little bits, lop off any of the sort of miscut edges that I've done, and just generally make sure it's all square with this edge. Here we have it. I have bound up the book with a little bit of masking tape just to make sure that it stays in all the right places. And here we go. So this is where it gets a bit exciting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp this down with my 2 pieces of wood and my G-clamps. I'm going to clamp it to the edge of the table, and then I'm going to figure out where we're going to cut the channels that we're going to sew through. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and started prepping for the next part, and I've got the spine here. This is going to make the spine up, and I've marked where the holes are going to need to go. So I'm going to use this basically to help guide where I put the holes. These are about, it goes an inch, some inches, an inch. So it's going to be ever so slightly smaller here. This one is going to be an inch, which it is. I'm just double checking that. Now, I get my saw. I'm going to slice these pages across that line. I've just marked a 5mm gap on my saw, so that I'll know when I've reached 5mm. That should be all the holes that we need all sawn through. Okay, so that's been part 1 of bookmaking. How exciting was that? Today we've cut the leaves, we've folded them, we've squared them off and trimmed them. Now we've just put the holes in. So what's next? Stay tuned tomorrow and you'll find out. So this has been Andy with the Scholar's Box. Come back tomorrow and find out what's next.